This week's episode of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast is driven by Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy. CGA is the world's most comprehensive online gun dog training resource. They've got over 160 instructional videos that includes everything that you need to take a 7-week-old puppy to a finished gun dog. Visit cornerstonegundogacademy.com, sign up for their free preview module, and begin your training journey today. Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy, the most advanced gun dog training resource on the web. You are listening to the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast, episode 151. This week on the show, we're dipping into the old mailbag and we're answering listeners' questions, dealing with items for the early season. All right, welcome to episode 151 of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast, where your on-demand audio source for all things waterfowl and waterfowl hunting. I'm your host, Josh Palm. We're brought to you this week by Gunner Kennels, engineered for your dog, designed for travel, and built for your peace of mind. The G1 Kennel has set a new industry standard and put Gunner in a category all its own. They were started to protect your pet, and it continues to be at the center of everything they do. Gunner's dedicated to building the best and safest pet travel crate on the market because man's best friend deserves man's best kennel. Check out their G1 series of kennels and accessories at gunnerkennels.com. Joining me this week, as he always does, my co-host, Dan Hrushka. Dan, what's up, man?
So we're recording this Sunday night. It'll be out tomorrow. And last night I went to one of my buddy's weddings. And usually I wouldn't report too much on it, but I had a few thoughts come across my mind as I was there. And, you know, we went through the wedding and then go to the reception and we get in the food line. Well, there's 2 food lines. All my friends went to the other one and I was like, I'm going to mix in with this crowd over here. And there was a guy had the sweetest mutton chops I've ever seen on a human. So automatically I gave him some respect, right? And we're going through and he tells a story about the Titanic sinking. And he claims that the chef on the Titanic, when he found out what was happening, went back down to his quarters and they got severely drunk. And then he went back up to the top and ended up falling in the water. And because his blood alcohol content was so high, he didn't freeze and actually was one of the survivors. And immediately as I heard the story, I was like, I need to put that on the show and have someone fact check it. So I have not Googled it yet. I have not tried to validate this story, but I'm waiting for after the release of this show to see what people come up with.
Well, I can tell you, I've seen the movie Titanic, and I know for a fact that that's not accurate. Okay, so I think you might have been getting a lot of BS, but I'm sure there's the smart folks that listen to this show. We'll be able to find it somehow on the interwebs. Anyway. Yeah. So this week we are diving into listeners' questions because always kind of the late summer as we get closer to the early season, we get flooded with questions. You know, new guys looking for information. Guys have been doing it for a while, asking our opinion on certain things. And it's just really hard to sort of keep up with everything with the amount of email and Facebook messages and Instagram DMs and all the stuff we get. It's really tough to keep up with all of that. So we decided we'll tackle a few of those this week. And we like to do this periodically because it's one of those things where, you know, you always get told this, right? It's like, if you got a question, ask it because there's probably somebody else in the room that's also got the same question. So that's sort of our hope is that, you know, some of these questions that we answer are things that you may be thinking about or have thought about and we're curious about. So hopefully we'll be able to help a couple people with some information this week. Helping us this week is 737 Duck and Goose Calls, original design, select grade components, superior sound, and unparalleled service. 737 takes exceptional pride in producing the finest quality, best built premium calls in the market today. They're made right here in America, and they're offered only direct to consumer through their website. Shipping in the U.S. is always free, and international orders are also now accepted online. A 20-day money-back guarantee and a lifetime warranty accompany every call purchase. 737 duck calls lead the flock. Also, thank you to Lucky Duck. About the only creature that they can't deceive is you. Lucky Duck is more than a brand. It's a lifestyle built around the subtle art of critter deception. So while you're focused on the business end of your shotgun or rifle, know that they're completely focused on what matters most, you. So whether you're in the duck blind, dove field, on a predator stand, or chasing turkeys, they're confident that their products will help you succeed. Check them out. Their full line over at luckyduck.com, and keep up with their latest news by following them on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And then finally, new to the program, super excited about this, Base Map. It's the most comprehensive mapping app helping hunters plan, navigate, and share their outdoor experience. It's got over 700 mapping layers to help the hunter plan at home or navigate in the field. Property ownership information, hunting unit boundaries. Basemap is your go-to mapping app for anyone looking to be more successful on their next hunt. No cell service, no problem. Download unlimited high-res maps to use while in the field. Basemap's free to download and available on iOS and Android, covering all 50 states. Head over to basemap.com, learn more, and download it today. Own the outdoors with Basemap. I'll tell you, I've been using Basemap here for the last probably 2 months, getting familiar with it, and the amount of information that's on that app is pretty astounding. It's really in depth. It's got all the tools that you need. The thing for me on Basemap, I'm just being honest, man, it works flawlessly. I don't get freezes. It doesn't close unexpectedly on me. That's something that a lot of apps I've always struggled with. It just works for me. And I'm super pumped that we got them on board. And definitely, if you're looking for a super affordable option that's got every tool that you could possibly need, dude, Basemap's where it's at. So
yeah, I think the that 3D option that they have as well is really cool, especially and how, if you're out in any kind of hill country or mountains or anything like that and trying to plan your route that way, it's really cool. So
yep.
I think that links up with the Google Earth and gets everything linked up together. So
yep,
it's definitely cool.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just it's one of those things where in today's day and age, I don't know a hunter that doesn't use some sort of electronic means to scout, whether it's for deer or ducks or geese or whatever. You want a property owner's name, or you're looking for a roost spot that you can't see it from the road, but you think there might be one there. All that kind of stuff, man. Everybody I know is using electronics to up their game, and it's one of the great tools that we have at our disposal now. So, I think there's like a 7-day free trial available, things like that. Get in there, check it out, see what a difference that kind of stuff can make for you. So,
another funny story from that wedding. My buddy showed up late. He gets there. Oh, he calls me. He's like, "Hey, where's this? This is where I'm at. I'm by Barnes and Noble. Where's this place at?" And I was like, "I'll send you the coordinates, or just I'll drop a pin." And he's like, "Yeah, I have a flip phone and I can't see the screen." So I said, "Wait." I was like, "Yeah, the 1990s called." Then he ended up getting there, but super late. But anyway, yeah, he's probably the only person I know that doesn't have a smartphone.
Yeah, that's interesting. All right, let's start talking duck hunting. Unless you got something else from this wedding that we need to be enlightened with.
There are some stories, but I'll keep them to myself.
Cool. All right. So you got the list of questions, and these are questions that we've compiled from a combination of places: our email, our Facebook messages, questions that were asked in the Facebook group. I don't know where else we got some of these, but they always seem to come in. So hopefully, if you've wrote a question and we haven't responded to you yet, maybe you're one of these. So maybe you'll get what you're looking for here.
Yeah, and we talked about before, like our group is so big now that there are a lot of responses to questions, and we kind of let people roll with it and get their ideas, and this is kind of our chance to answer them as well. So if we don't respond on the group, and we get it out for everyone. So let's get it started. And I don't have the names of these questions. They're just kind of vague on the wording. But anyway, goose floaters on a spreader or jerk rig. Have you done it? Is it worth it?
So yeah, I hunt geese on water a bunch, and I put geese on a jerk string just like I do any other duck decoy and things like that. The way I do it is I simulate them as it's a group of honkers that just landed on the water and they're just kind of gliding in. So I don't beat it to death, but I do use it. In fact, a lot of spots that I hunt, I will use, I'll hunt ducks and geese in the same spot as the season progresses. And I'll actually run a jerk rig with 2 or 3 ducks closest, and then I'll put a honker on the end just to give a little more ripple in the water, a little more visibility out there. And, geese don't like to finish over top of ducks, but ducks seem to not really have too much of a problem with it. So as long as you keep that goose on the outer portion of it, doesn't really seem to have any negative impact on any of the birds finishing. And I'm a big fan of that. I don't know if you've done that before or have tried to mix that in, but yeah, I'm a huge fan of putting honkers on the jerk rig.
I agree. On a jerk rig, as far as a spreader, I've never done it on a spreader. I think you could. I don't know if I would put 4 that close together. That's getting semi-close, especially if they're making turns and whatnot, but definitely on a jerk rig. And I'll go on to the second question, because the one guy was nervous about hunting geese on water in the early season. So what's your thought on that?
So I think you got some crickets going tonight, bud. I'm pretty sure I can hear them.
It might be cricket. I think it's more of a grasshopper because it's a constant, not so much chirping, but
well, hopefully we can edit some of that out. Anyway, what was the question again? Sorry, I was distracted.
Hunting geese on water, early season.
That's right. Yeah. I'm a huge fan of hunting geese on water where we live here in Virginia. It's very common for us to do that, and part of the problem is access around here can be tough. So your fields that you may have access to can be few and far between, or just limited depending on your situation, especially this time of year when they're not all cut or hardly any of them are cut. You're kind of forced to hunt, these loafing ponds. So I've seen it happen a couple times where the birds will come up off the roost. They'll fly right from that roost and they'll hit another pond right off the bat. And they'll sit there for like 20 minutes and then they'll get up and then they'll go out and feed in a field or something like that. And then they'll come back. I've had it where I scouted a spot at like 9 o'clock and it was loaded with geese. And I was like, sweet, we're in good shape. And, the next time we hunted it, we were running a little bit late and we showed up and we saw, no geese or whatever. And it was because they'd come in there, they hung out for a little while, and then they went back to the field, and then they came back, and we were just kind of like thrown off by that. But they'll bounce between these loafing ponds throughout the day, and some of these loafing ponds will have feed on them as well. So they'll hang around, they'll loaf, they'll eat a little bit, but as long as it's not where they're roosting, you're not going to blow them out of the area. So I'm a big fan of it. I mean, when it's hot out and they're spending time on the water and stuff like that, yeah, man. I mean, if that's where they're going, I'm all in on that.
Yeah, I agree. I know the one group that was a few miles from us was hunting a pond on the opener, and they probably had the best day around us that I know of. So definitely get on it. And I'll move right into question number 3. A gentleman has a few duck decoys, but he found the X on a goose pond, but he doesn't have any goose floaters. 1, would you use the duck decoys at all? It's out of season. He wanted to know the legality of that. And 2, would you use it as any kind of strategy or almost like a comfort decoy, confidence decoy?
So I'm going to caveat this by saying, I'm obviously not the law. So the legalities, I'm just going to give you my opinion on it. I don't believe that there's any legal issue with having duck decoys out if you choose to use them in that scenario. For me personally, I would not use them unless there's actually ducks on the pond. And if that's common for ducks to be coming through there, then maybe you would want to use them. But he said the key word for me, he's on the X. So, depending on the setup, I would just worry about the concealment and the hide more than putting out decoys just for the sake of putting out decoys. I mean, if the birds are hitting that area and they want to be there, then you just need to make sure you're hidden good. And, it might be nice to have some decoys to help try to like finish them where you want them to finish. But if you don't have the right, you know what I mean? I don't think it's a necessity. You know what I mean? I think if those birds are coming there, whether you got decoys out or not, they're going to be coming in feet down in that spot. So to me, it's not something that I would probably do personally. And I'd probably leave the ducks at home.
Yeah, I agree. I think legality, again, I don't think there's any issue with that, but you could probably expect to get checked if they are not in season and you're viewable from any roadway. But yeah, if you're on the X, just get in there and work on your hide and then take it to them.
Yeah.
That would also be my take on it.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, that's going to mean leave the calls at home, just like let them do what they naturally want to do and just get hidden real good, right? I mean, that's the name of the game in that situation.
Yep. All right, here. Next one, fitting of a dog vest. Do you want to take that one?
No, I don't.
All right. So any company that you're buying from is going to have measurements, right? So you measure your dog's chest, neck, and stomach area. Get the best one that you think will fit. And it's funny because Kimber made me think of this question too. Kimber has a real deep chest, right? And then she just like a greyhound, like a skinny stomach, or used to anyway when I bought her vest. But I guess every dog's different. You can't expect everyone to fit perfectly. So I know I had to cut around the inner part of her legs because it was just too tight. So essentially what was going on, her chest bone was it might have been only 4 inches wide, going from her neck down to the main part of the chest covering. So I had to really cut out a lot for her arms just so she could move around in it. One thing you want to make sure of is you don't want to have a big scoop around the neck, because if they're swimming, that's just going to tire them out quicker, going to drag them, could definitely get caught on something. And, if it's for warmth, you want that nice and tight anyway. So just a few little tips there that you should think about.
Yeah, good tips.
Good tips. You don't want a big old dog scoop a food scoop at the front of their chest.
Correct.
All right, the next one, and we've talked about this before on shows, but breathable waders, stocking foot, and keeping your feet warm. Do they keep your feet warm? What can you do to help keep them warmer? I have the Sims G3 waders, stocking foot with the G3 boots. My body runs hot. My appendages run hot and sweaty,
Gross.
as Josh has mentioned before. I know, as for myself, I'll wear a pair of sock liners just to get any moisture away from my feet. And after that, it's a merino wool sock. And I usually don't go too thick on socks. Definitely, I don't go 2 pairs of socks. And I'll stand in cold water for hours and be okay. Some people, like Trav, he'll have the battery-operated socks that he can turn on and off, or he will be taping hand warmers or foot warmers to his feet as soon as he gets there in the field, just to make sure it's hot, and because his feet get super cold. And I know a lot of people wear those, are they wet socks or something like that? It's like essentially a neoprene sock.
Yeah.
That'll go up over them, and they'll wear wool under that to keep it that much warmer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've never hunted with stocking foot style waders, and I don't know. I just like having the boot all attached, so I can't really speak to that particular question. But
how warm are the Sitka boots?
I don't know what the number is, but I didn't have any issues with my feet being cold last year, so I don't know.
You usually don't get cold feet though.
So
I've never heard you complain about it.
well, so I've historically I used to get cold feet a lot, and what I came to realize that it was a layering problem for me under my waders, or when I was deer hunting, it would be the same thing because, like most dudes, my feet sweat, right? And I would wear like a pair of maybe athletic socks or something, and then like a pair of wool socks is like a insulating liner outside. And when I walk into the woods or I walk into the line or whatever, my feet sweat. And so as soon as that sweat gets cold, my feet are froze. So the two big things I changed was I wear one pair of socks. I don't like layer it up. I don't bundle it up. I just wear one pair of socks. And then two, this is just a tip, big time tip though, I think, for people with cold feet. When you get in the truck in the morning, do not put heat on the floor of your truck. Keep the heat on the dash. So what I would do is I would put the heat on in my truck, and it would be like coming out all the things or whatever, and it would blow heat on my feet on the way to the blind or whatever. And I mean, some of these times I got like an hour drive, right? So I got heat blowing on my feet, and they start sweating it before I even realize it. So, and it doesn't take a lot, like any moisture at all, any perspiration will help, will turn, will make you cold eventually. So, if I leave my feet sort of acclimated to temperature and not under direct heat, I found that they stay way warmer throughout the day when I'm hunting. So those are my techniques to keep my feet warm. And, for the most part, it does me pretty good.
Unless I have to defrost my windshield, I won't run heat on the way to a hunt, just for the same reason. I don't want to get sweaty on my body, let alone my feet.
Yeah, I usually don't. I usually dress very lightly in the truck. I mean, again, I'm sitting in there for like an hour most of the time, so I don't want to freeze to death. But I dress light. I don't blow the heat out. I don't like dry car heat. I don't like it to begin with. So I'm not going crazy with the heat. But since I've stopped putting it on the floor, it's made a huge difference. Like huge difference.
That's a good call. All right, man. Let's see here. A Dove Mojo for teal. Can you use it?
Like legally, can you use it?
Nah, just does it work? Does it pull in teal?
Well, I've never tried it, but I have to assume that the answer to that is yes, because teal respond some of the best of any duck to motion, particular spinning wing decoys early in the year. So for me, I would want to have some spinning wing decoys out there. And if all you've got is a dove, it's probably fine. I mean, I don't know this to be true, but I would try it for sure. And I don't think there's any legal issues with it that I'm aware of, but I think it's probably worth a shot.
Yeah, there's no legal issues on having a different species of waterfowl out if you're hunting something else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, as long as electronic decoys are legal in your area,
right.
And I have seen people put out 3 Dove Mojos during teal season and shoot teal over them. So for that question, we give a thumbs up to using a dove decoy for teal, getting that spinning motion out there.
Yep.
All right, man. Number 7. Gloves for brushing blinds.
Well,
what do y'all use? What do you think?
So I think it depends on when I'm doing it, but unfortunately, for whatever reason, a lot of the time I end up not using gloves. And it's not ideal, but it just seems to be what I end up doing. But when I do use them, I like to use a more rugged sort of leather style glove. I wore the yellow ones for a long time. Just something inexpensive, but I don't typically like to wear gloves in general into the field. So I don't usually carry much with me, but I will throw some of those like work style gloves, or I also like the mechanics style gloves. That are kind of thin, but they're nice and form fitting. So they're not too bulky and things like that. If I use them, I'd use something like that. But for the hunt, they come off, and I don't really use any of that stuff. So I typically don't really, have it gloves in my bag that often. So that's why I sort of end up, just doing the whole no glove thing. Yeah.
I would say that, most of the time, if you're brushing in the mornings, you're going to have some kind of moisture, whether it be dew or snow or whatever it is,
Kinda
whatever
moist, moist.
getting a little moist. So
Gross.
if you're the kind of person that gets super cold hands and can't get them warmed up, you might want to go with the waterproof option. Other than that, I'm kind of just the leather guy as well, cheap ones. And, sometimes you grab onto the little pricker grasses and rip your hands up, but really no issue there. So grab some cheap ones because you'll end up losing them anyways, probably.
Yep, for sure.
That's my thought. All right. So this is for a lot of the new guys. A fellow was worried about the duck stamping at eStamp and if that was valid or if you had to wait until the actual duck stamp came in the mail to be able to hunt.
Yeah. So this is something that they started several years ago, but I can recall the first time I did this, the first season I did this, I was a little nervous myself. I was like, kind of what the deal is here. And then I went to a public spot here that checks your licenses before season. You have to get yourself registered and all squared away. And they actually were unfamiliar with it. And they were like, this is not the stamp, blah, 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 blah. They were wrong. The law is you can buy the stamp online and then they will mail you the duck stamp to your house. And you just have a proof of purchase or whatever on your license that's good for 45 or 60 days, 45 days, I want to say. But it's good for a period of time, more than enough time for the stamp to actually be physically mailed to you and then, signed and all that kind of stuff. But it's definitely something that I can see this being confusing for someone who's hunting for the first time in waterfowl and they're trying to understand what all they need and this whole stamp thing and whatever. Because in Virginia, you can do the same with the state stamp, but you do not need the physical state stamp to hunt in Virginia. So you have to select whether you actually want them to mail you a physical stamp or not. I always do because I like to collect them, but it's an option, right? So that's not really the deal on the federal stamp. That's not a selectable option that I'm aware of. So I can see how people would be confused by that. So I think it's a good point to clarify that you can buy them all online and then the federal stamp they will mail you, and at least in Virginia, I can't speak for every state, but here they give you the option on whether you want them to mail it to you or not, and I always choose to do that, so then you get them.
Yep, get that stamp. And it's usually, if I'm at the post office, I will ask them for a stamp because I like to buy, 2 or 3 a year just to have them. But usually when I'm purchasing my license, I just get the stamp so I know that I have it. And I have it coming in the mail, right off the bat. So that's how I roll. All right, number 9, and I believe this is our last question for tonight. Brian Mallett, he asked, has anyone replaced their Benelli recoil spring with a Wolf plus 25%? He says M2 20 gauge clicks and he can't fix it. So I think this is probably good for a lot of people that are having issues. They clean their gun. They still can't figure out why they're getting dented primers, but not, the gun doesn't fire, right? So it was pretty overwhelming for the Wolf plus 25% recoil spring. So if you're having that issue, the one other guy had a SBE2, M1 Super 90, and I'm sure that people with other brands besides Benelli are having the same issue, and actually probably need to look into my Beretta 3901 because I get that same thing quite often. So if you can't figure it out, try a recoil spring, and I think these are $12, right? So $12 fix, switch it out, at least give it a shot, and I think that could fix your problems.
Yeah, I don't have any experience with this. He refers to the whole Benelli click. I think people obviously know that term. I've seen that happen to guys, but again, I've never hunted with the Benelli, so I can't really speak to it or whatever. But Yeah, it's definitely something that if I was in that boat, it would irritate me. So I would definitely be looking for a reliable solution, and if that can be one, then I'd be looking into that personally. So
Yeah. There was some mention that lighter loads, you'd still have trouble with it, but other people said that it's worked flawlessly after they've switched it out. So I'd probably try that out if you're having issues with just tapping the primer.
just a tappy.
Just tippy tap.
Cool. Well,
That's about it.
I think the weird thing for me is like the early season has really not been on my radar because of kids sports and stuff, but I'm 100% distracted by the fact that we're going to Canada next month.
Yep.
That is weighing heavily on my mind. I feel like there's some paperwork I should be doing at some point soon for gun transfer and stuff, but I don't really know. So
I have those forms, so you can fill the forms out previous to flying and getting to customs, but you can't sign it, or else you have to fill it out again and sign it in front of the people. So
where do you get the form?
I have it.
Okay, well, where do I get it?
I'll email it to you.
Sweet. Appreciate you.
But yeah, it probably doesn't help that Ben will send us updates every now and then with how many birds are killing. So that's all I can think about as well. So they're absolutely crushing it up there. I think just about everyone I see online on Instagram or Facebook, everyone hunting up there is just smashing birds. So
yeah,
seems like a good hatch, a lot of birds, and it was late cutting or late, getting crops in, and a lot of the fields are just starting to get cut now. So I think it's only going to get better as the time goes on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, completely agree. Yeah, it's good, man. I'm excited to get up there, and the funny thing is, I mean, we're just a little under a month or a little over a month away, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I honestly don't know if I'm going to be able to even hunt before that time.
Cool.
Like I literally might not I might not hunt until we get to Canada.
Make sure you put your plug in. Oh, you already put your plug in.
Did, yeah. Yeah. Like I'm able to get out for some deer hunts after work and stuff, or like an hour here, hour there. But my son's got a soccer game every Saturday and doubleheader baseball games on Sundays. I don't know what to do.
Just going to have to be back by 9.
Yeah, it's probably not an option when I have to drive like an hour to get there.
That is bad.
Yeah, it's just not really in the cards, unfortunately, right now. But anyway, what else you got, man? You got any more like good, wedding stories or anything else you want to share with us this week? Because I mean, Sunday night, work, life schedule has made it very, very difficult on us. So I still got to go edit all this and get it ready to go for tomorrow. So
I was going to ask you if you are running any fantasy football teams.
I am.
You are.
I am. We've got a neighborhood league that I'm in. That's to the extent that I participate.
This is the first year in a while that we didn't get together and put one together, but the wife is in one for her work, which it's just they didn't put any money on it, which now I'm upset because I drafted for her and have a really good team. So we'll see. And I did take a chance on AB, and now he will be with the Patriots. So looking forward to see what the Brady to Brown connection will look like here soon.
Yeah. What a weird turn of events that one was.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much, you know me. I'm a college football guy. I really don't care about the NFL other than the fact that I'll play fantasy football with my neighbors, but that's about it. So yep. I don't take it too seriously. I don't throw money on it either. So just too many people study that crap, man. What are you going to do? Right. I check it like during the week before the waiver wire, period, make a few claims if I need to fill a slot, and then, whatever. Yeah.
It got to the point where I forgot to put players in because it was their bye week. That's how often I paid attention to it. So kind of glad that we quit doing it because I was just the donating team every year. But
yeah, so we don't put money on it in my neighborhood, but we have a WWF style title belt.
Nice.
That that you can win. So the current champions got back-to-back champion titles, which is very annoying to me. We're in our 4th season competing for the belt, and I've never won the championship. But like a good champion, some of them will, we have like community gatherings and like picnics and stuff and like holiday parties. They'll show up with the belt, which is the purpose of said belt. And I just keep joking with my wife. I'm like, when I win the belt, like I'm going to be wearing it in our Christmas photo that we send to all the neighbors, and everybody. Like I'm just going to like have it with me all the time, just obnoxiously amount of time. So maybe this will be my year. We'll see.
Like attach it in the back window of your truck as you drive down.
Yeah, it's like my everyday carry piece. It's like you roll out of bed and you like put your piece in your holster and then you throw the belt on and you just roll out.
I can just see like parents waiting out by the curb with their kids to get on a school bus, and you go slowly driving by, pin it up against your window.
Oh, dude, I just roll with it over my shoulder, straight Macho Man Randy Savage style, title belt on one shoulder, Elizabeth on the other, just getting after it, old school.
Old nature boy, just woo, driving down the cul-de-sac.
Dude, love it, man. I need to get it. It's made it fun because none of us are super competitive with it. A lot of my neighbors, it's mostly like husband and wives, right? So it's like 5 houses, right? Mm-hmm. The husbands and the wives. And most of the husbands are like into leagues where they throw a lot of cash on it and they like do a ton of research. I just don't have time of day for that kind of stuff. So I like it because it's totally about just screwing around and trying to get that belt. But everyone, they take it seriously, but it's not like, I'm not like giving away $200 or whatever every year. So
right. Anyway.
But we'll see. Week 1. Hopefully I can pull out the dub. I got a lot of guys going on Monday night, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, man. What else you got? Anything?
No, that's about it. Yeah. I'm not sure. We run the early season through the 25th, I believe. Should be able to get on a few more hunts here. So excited about that. Just love getting back out in the field. So I think a lot of people opened up this weekend, and a lot of people in our group shooting their first birds, it's awesome to see. They just started buying stuff a couple months ago and want to get out and getting out, doing the scouting and getting on birds, shooting, killing. And I love to see that. Yep.
Definitely neat. So cool. Well, let's go ahead and wrap this week up. But before we do, just want to take a minute to thank Gunner Kennels, 737 Duck and Goose Calls, Lucky Duck, Base Map, and Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy, the most advanced gun dog training resource on the web. They've got over 160 instructional videos, includes everything you need to take your 7-week-old puppy to a finished gun dog. Visit them over at cornerstonegunDogAcademy.com, sign up for the free preview module, and begin your training journey today. Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy, the most advanced gun dog training resource on the web. All right, that does it for episode 151 of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast. Thanks for tuning in this week. Hopefully you enjoyed our chat about some of the listener questions. If you've got questions, you can send them in to us via email, on our Facebook page, or in our Facebook group. If you're new to the show, head over to iTunes, check out all the past episodes. While you're there, you can leave us a 5-star rating and review. Hit that subscribe button. That will help like-minded hunters just like you find our show. So for Dan, I'm Josh. Till next week, take care.